You're wasting your time. He won't do anything about it. He never does. That's the first thing I heard as I reached the top of the stairs. She didn't know I was home yet. My shoes were still in my hand, umbrella dripping quietly into the carpet. It had been raining. Hard. I paused on the last step and listened. Her voice came again, low, hushed, and sharper than I'd ever heard it. He'll sit there with his dumb little birthday cake and act like it means something. It's sad, really. He's like this puppy that keeps coming back no matter how many times you shut the door. I stayed frozen, one foot on the step, the other in air. I'll snap at him. He'll blink like a scared deer. Then I'll say, I love you, and he'll melt. Works every time. My chest went cold. She was on the phone. I could hear her walking around, pacing, probably holding a glass of wine, maybe checking her reflection. She always checks her reflection when she lies. I'll be out of here soon, she said. Let me play sweet for a few more days. He's soft. He won't fight. That's why it was so easy. I backed down the stairs quietly. I didn't make a sound. Not yet. I sat in the car for nearly an hour after that, just staring at the steering wheel. There was a cake in the passenger seat. Chocolate raspberry, custom written in gold icing, to a fresh start. I thought it was funny at the time. Not anymore. That night, when I finally walked back in and opened the door like I hadn't heard a thing, she looked up from the couch and said, There you are? What took you so long? I was starting to think you forgot your own birthday. She smiled like she hadn't rehearsed a monologue about how pathetic I was, like she hadn't just used my name as a punchline. I handed her the cake. She kissed me on the cheek. I didn't react. She tilted her head. What's wrong? I shook my head and told her. Nothing. She frowned. You're acting weird. And then I did something I wasn't planning to do. I whispered, Try snapping at me. Let's see if it still works. Her face changed. Panic. Then guilt. Then a wide-eyed, forced innocence. Wait, what are you talking about? I didn't mean anything earlier. I love you. It was almost comical how fast she played the part. If I hadn't heard what I heard, I might have believed her. But I did, and I was done blinking like a deer. What she didn't know was, I had recorded the entire call. And what I didn't know yet was how deep it really went. I didn't sleep that night. Not because she was next to me. She wasn't. She claimed she had a migraine and went to sleep on the couch, which was her new move lately. At first, I thought it was just stress. Now I know better. Now I wonder if she was even really asleep or just texting him under the blanket. Her phone was tucked between two cushions when I came downstairs the next morning, with the screen still dimly lit and a charger awkwardly plugged into the wall like it had been a rushed setup. I stood there for a full minute staring at that screen, wondering how far I was willing to go. Part of me, the broken, pathetic part, still wanted to believe I'd misunderstood. That maybe I'd caught a weird joke or misheard something. But I hadn't. I played the recording 10 more times that night, with headphones on in the bathroom while she snored. Her voice was sharp, clear, confident. I'll snap at him. He'll blink like a scared deer. Then I'll say I love you, and he'll melt. You'd think hearing that once would be enough. It wasn't. I kept replaying it like it would somehow change, like I'd catch her saying something else in between. I didn't. And here's the worst part. I still loved her. That's what made it all so much worse. I didn't want to destroy her. I wanted her to tell me it wasn't real, that she had some stupid reason, that it was a prank or a misunderstanding or a cruel impression of someone else. She woke up late, hair messy, no makeup, yawning like she had a real night's sleep while my brain was burning down. She looked at me from the couch and smiled. Morning, birthday boy. You okay? I told her yes. That was line number one of many. We went through the motions of Saturday morning. Coffee. Cereal. Her scrolling her phone while I sat in front of mine pretending to check emails. She didn't ask me how I slept. She didn't even seem curious. Like everything from last night didn't matter. Like she'd already mentally moved on. It hit me sometime around 11 a.m. I was dealing with a version of Jenna I didn't know. Or maybe one I never wanted to admit was real. And I had no idea how long this version had been around. Had she always thought I was weak? Had she always pitied me? So I started digging. Carefully. I asked, Hey, remember Camden? She flinched. It was so small, I almost missed it. Then she recovered, smiled, like she was doing improv. Camden? From the gym? Bingo. I nodded like I bought it. Yeah, just wondering. I thought you said you quit the gym months ago. She took a sip of coffee, shrugged. I still follow a few people from there. Why? I said nothing. just nodded again and looked away like it didn't matter. But inside, something was boiling. Because I'd already checked. Camden wasn't from the gym. He was tagged in a photo with her from a wine bar 2 weeks ago. A bar I'd never even heard of. She was wearing the green dress I thought she'd given away. The one she said didn't fit anymore. That photo was the beginning. But not the end. While she went upstairs to shower, I searched for more. And I found it. In a hidden album on her iCloud. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Snooping, desperate, paranoid. But when you hear your wife mocking your loyalty on the phone to someone else, all bets are off. There were 6 videos. All muted. All her, smiling at someone behind the camera. Sometimes sitting in a restaurant booth. Sometimes lying on hotel beds. Once, barefoot on a balcony at night. She looked free. Happy. Like a version of herself I hadn't seen in over a year. And not once, not even in the background, was I there. That afternoon, when she came down in a towel and asked if I wanted to order Thai, I just stared at her and said, "Let's get sushi instead." She blinked. "But you hate sushi." I smiled for the first time that day. Not anymore. She didn't know it, but the game had already started. She raised an eyebrow like she was testing for sarcasm. "You like sushi now?" I gave her a small shrug. Taste change. That moment stuck with her. I could tell. The version of me she'd rehearsed her lines for, the one who blinked, apologized, folded, wasn't matching up anymore. I wasn't being cold. I wasn't being cruel. I was just unpredictable. And that scared her more than if I had screamed. I let her order the sushi. I even pretended to be excited about the spicy tuna rolls she always loved. We ate in the living room, her legs curled under her on the couch, my plate balanced on a TV tray. She talked more than usual, about work drama, some new moisturizer, her coworker Kendra's fiancé getting cold feet. I nodded a lot, laughed in the right places. She kept glancing at me between bites, like she was waiting for me to crack and confess something was wrong. But I didn't. I was saving that. Later that night, I waited until she was brushing her teeth to go back into her phone. No snooping this time. She had left it on the dresser. Open. Like bait. But the messages were gone. All of them. The thread from Camden, Jim, had vanished. Deleted. I wasn't surprised. She'd realized I was acting different and went into cleanup mode. But she didn't know that I had already exported the entire thread using her laptop the night before. Everything, even the voice notes, backed up on a flash drive hidden in a sock drawer under my collection of old birthday cards she never read. I wasn't planning to use any of it. Not yet. I didn't want revenge for the sake of pain. I wanted her to watch it all come down on its own, naturally, quietly, like rot from the inside. So I started building what I called controlled chaos. Subtle things. Little reversals. I stopped asking her about her day. I stopped reminding her about her dentist appointment. I let the mail pile up. Let dishes sit in the sink longer than she liked. One afternoon, I accidentally sent her a Venmo request for $240 labeled reimbursement. Hotel night, you said, was business-related. She never acknowledged it. But I saw the way her hand froze on her coffee mug the next morning. Her breath caught just for a second. A few days later, I changed all my passwords. Bank, Netflix, iCloud, even the joint grocery list app. She noticed immediately. "Hey, I can't log into the meal planner," she said casually over dinner. I didn't look up. Yeah, I had to reset some stuff. Security breach. Oh, should I be worried? I met her eyes then and said something I'd practiced in the mirror. "Only if you have something to hide." She laughed. It was nervous, dry. "What does that mean?" I smiled. "Nothing. Just weird how vulnerable everything is now." She didn't eat much after that. And then came the text. It wasn't from Camden this time. It was from a number she hadn't saved, which told me this was someone new, or someone she wasn't supposed to keep in her contacts. I only saw it for a second while she was in the shower. But the message was burned into my memory. "Still thinking about Tuesday. Let me know if he bought the sushi act." Act. That word stuck with me. She thought she was playing a role. She thought I was, too. And that's when I knew I wasn't dealing with just a cheating wife. I was dealing with a strategist, a manipulator, someone who thought she had written the entire script, including my part. So I decided to go off script. That weekend, I did something Jenna never expected. I invited her parents over. I cooked, cleaned, poured wine, gave a whole speech about how grateful I was for their daughter, all while she sat there stiff as stone, smiling through her teeth. I watched her squirm as I mentioned how much I appreciated her support these last few months, how she helped me become more independent, how we'd both learned the value of truth in this marriage. Her mother smiled, beaming. Her father nodded approvingly. Jenna? Jenna looked like she wanted to crawl out of her skin. She didn't say anything until they left. Then she exploded. What the hell was that? I played dumb. What was what? That speech. You made it sound like something was wrong. I tilted my head. You sure about that? Maybe you just feel guilty. There it was. That flicker. That twitch in her eye she couldn't hide. I don't know what you're talking about, she muttered, grabbing her phone and storming upstairs. But I did. I knew everything. And what I had planned next would make her wish she'd just left quietly. That night after she stormed upstairs, I let her have silence. She was expecting a confrontation, something to argue against, something to twist. But I gave her nothing. I stayed downstairs, finished my wine alone, and washed the dishes like it was any other evening. That was part of the plan. Don't react. Don't accuse. Just give her space to unravel under the weight of her own guilt. But guilt wasn't the only thing I was aiming for. I wanted discomfort. I wanted her to feel watched without knowing how. I wanted her to start second-guessing every lie she'd ever told me. So the next morning, I left the house early and didn't tell her where I was going. I drove to a print shop 20 minutes out of town. The flash drive I'd loaded the night before was already in my pocket, labeled simply documents. Inside it was a carefully selected set of screenshots, her texts, some cropped stills from the hidden album, and a transcript of the voice memo where she mocked me to Camden. I didn't need every piece of evidence, just enough to get a reaction, enough to remind her this wasn't a dream she could charm her way out of. I printed them, one copy, bound in a black folder with a simple cover page. To the man who keeps blinking. I dropped it off in her car, passenger seat, under her tote bag. She wouldn't find it immediately, but eventually she would. And when she did, I didn't want to be anywhere nearby. That afternoon, I got home before her and sat in the backyard, pretending to read a novel I hadn't touched in years. When she arrived, I didn't hear the door open. I heard the slamming of it. She stormed through the house like she was looking for something to punch. Then her voice cut through the air like a blade. Where did you get these? I didn't look up, just flipped a page calmly. Get what? Don't play stupid, Thomas. This folder. These texts. Why would you do this? What do you want from me? I slowly closed the book and stood. Not angry. Not even sad. Just tired. I wanted you to read them the way I did. Quietly. Alone. In shock. Her mouth opened, then closed. She was shaking, but not from fear, from panic. The kind of panic people feel when they realize they've underestimated the wrong person. You went through my phone? She asked, voice dropping an octave. You gave me no choice, I replied. And for the record, you're not very good at hiding things. Hidden albums, fake names, deleted messages. You do realize the cloud remembers everything, right? She stepped back like I'd slapped her. Then the defenses kicked in. I never meant for it to be like this. You were distant. You stopped caring. I needed something, and you weren't giving it to me. Camden listened. He made me feel seen. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I'd practiced this exact moment a dozen times in my head, and she still managed to make it worse than I imagined. You mean the Camden who told you to see if I bought the sushi act? That Camden? The one who called me a pet project you were almost done training? Her eyes widened. That part she didn't know I had. Her breath caught, and for the first time since this began, I saw it. A genuine crack. Not rehearsed. Not manipulative. She whispered, You weren't supposed to hear that. No, I said, stepping closer. I wasn't supposed to hear a lot of things. But I did. And now I can't unhear them. We stood in silence. Long enough for the wind to pick up. A few leaves blew across the porch. It was October, but suddenly everything felt colder. I don't know what you want me to say, she finally muttered. I nodded slowly. Good. Then maybe you'll finally stop talking. I walked past her without another word. She didn't follow. Not right away. But that night, that was when the shift really started. Around midnight, I heard the knock on the bedroom door. She never knocked. I was awake, but I didn't answer. A second knock. Thomas, she said softly, can we talk? I stayed silent. Please, her voice cracked. I think I messed everything up. I closed my eyes. Because for the first time in this entire marriage, she was finally right. She sat outside the bedroom door for almost 20 minutes that night. I could hear the soft creak of the floorboards each time she shifted her weight. Every few minutes, she'd try again. Thomas, please. Can you at least say something? I'm trying to fix this. But I didn't move. I stayed lying in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, phone in hand, heart numb. And it hit me, not how sad I was, or how angry, but how empty her voice had become. It wasn't pleading because she was in love. It was pleading because she'd lost control. For someone like Jenna, that was the real heartbreak. The next morning, she tried the normal wife act. She made coffee, made toast, even wore the soft gray hoodie I once told her I loved, the one she hadn't touched in over a year. She was trying to rewind time, but I wasn't playing along. When I walked into the kitchen, she looked up like a hopeful student waiting for a grade. I made breakfast, she said, forcing a small smile. The kind you like. Peanut butter on both sides. I nodded. Thanks. I sat, ate silently, and scrolled through my phone. Her eyes kept flicking toward me like she was begging for an opening, but I didn't give her one. Not yet. Not until I finished what I started. That afternoon, while she was out at the store, or maybe meeting him, who knows, I logged into the desktop she never used. She always preferred her tablet. But I knew the old iMac in the den had one thing she forgot to clear, her email client. The inbox was mostly clean, but the trash folder? Goldmine. Deleted reservations. Rideshare receipts. Private conversations from an account under the name JM. The email itself was something stupid like midcoast_waves at protonmail.com, but the contents weren't stupid at all. There were bookings. A cabin upstate. A hotel downtown. Dinner at a rooftop place I never knew she'd even heard of. In one of them, she replied to him with a line I'll never forget. It's his birthday. I'll distract him long enough. Bring wine. That's when I stopped breathing for a second. She had planned it. Not just the lie. Not just the cover story. She had planned to use me as a prop while entertaining someone else behind the scenes. I wasn't a husband. I was her alibi. But this time, I wasn't going to be her shield. I selected the email. Forwarded it to myself. Then, and this is the part I'll admit was petty, I replied to JM as her. Change of plans. He's starting to figure things out. Go dark for now. Then I deleted the draft, logged out, and made sure everything looked untouched. I wasn't trying to trap her. I was cutting off her escape routes. When she came home, I was already back in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a folder of bills and receipts. She blinked twice when she saw me there, like the scene didn't make sense to her. Everything okay? She asked, setting her purse down. Yeah, I said casually. Just catching up on some paperwork. She hesitated. You've never touched those. Trying new things, I muttered. She hovered for a second longer, then went upstairs. Her phone buzzed once while she walked. I saw the notification flash, a new number. No name. It read. So now you're ignoring me too? I didn't even need to see the sender to know who it was. That evening, Jenna cooked. I hadn't seen her cook in months. She played music, lit candles, poured us each a glass of wine. She was trying so hard to make the night feel warm, comfortable, like the early years. Halfway through dinner, she started crying. I know I broke something, she said, putting down her fork. I know. I'm not going to sit here and give you a sob story. I lost myself somewhere. And I'm sorry. I didn't respond immediately. I wanted her to sit in the silence she always tried to avoid. Then I asked one question. Who was the apology for? She looked confused. What do you mean? That speech. Who was it for? Me? Or yourself? She stared down at her plate. Couldn't answer. So I finished my wine, stood up, and said calmly, You don't get to apologize and reset the board like nothing happened. I'm not finished, I interrupted. Her mouth snapped shut. I walked to the kitchen, placed the wine glass in the sink, and turned back to her. I know you're not sorry I found out. You're sorry I didn't fold when you said, I love you. That's the part that scares you. She stood there, shaking her head. That's not true. But even she didn't believe it. And the look in her eyes told me something important. She knew I wasn't going to make a scene. But she also knew I wasn't going to save her either. She started following me around after that. Not like stalker-level following, but the kind where someone doesn't want to leave you alone for fear of what you'll do next. Every room I entered, she just happened to need something. If I stepped outside to take a call, she'd come out a minute later claiming she needed fresh air. It was the weirdest role reversal I'd ever experienced. Jenna, the woman who used to roll her eyes if I so much as sent her a sweet text, was now watching me like I was the one slipping away. I didn't stop her. I didn't feed it either. I just let her spin, quietly. That week, she made small talk like we were old friends trying to rekindle something that never really existed. She started complimenting my shirts, asking about my meetings, even brought up maybe taking a weekend away together. I didn't say no. I didn't say anything. I wanted her guessing. But behind all that new affection was something rawer, panic. The kind people get when they know a punishment is coming, but they have no clue when or how. It eats at them. That's what I wanted her to feel, the waiting. Because I'd spent months wondering whether she still loved me, whether I was enough, whether I was crazy for thinking something felt off. Now it was her turn, and then I made my first real move. She came home on Friday evening and found me packing a duffel bag. Her face went white. "Where are you going?" I zipped the bag calmly. "Nowhere. Just somewhere I'll have some space." She took a step forward, her voice tight. "You're leaving? Just for a few days? A reset?" She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, processing. I knew what she was thinking. He's not the type to leave. He never leaves. But I had to. Not because I needed the space, but because she needed the silence. "What do you want me to do, Thomas?" she asked. "Do you want me to beg? Do you want me to confess everything?" "Fine. I screwed up. I know. I messed everything up and I hurt you. And if I could take it back, I would." She was crying by then. Full tears, trembling hands, makeup untouched because she hadn't expected this part to come so soon. But I wasn't looking for a performance. I was looking for truth. And it still wasn't there. I slung the bag over my shoulder. "I don't want anything from you. That's the point. You don't want to fix this?" I paused in the doorway. I spent 6 years trying to fix what I didn't even know was broken. Now I know. And I'm just tired. Her voice cracked again. "So that's it?" "Not quite." She looked up. Hope flickered in her eyes, too fast. Then I handed her the envelope. It was thin, just 2 sheets. She hesitated before opening it, like her body already sensed what it contained. The first page was a notarized agreement, signed earlier that morning. It transferred my portion of the apartment's equity to her. Entirely. No conditions. No fees. Just hers. The second page was a handwritten letter. Short. Just 4 lines. "You were right. You were the smarter one. You played the better game. And now you get to keep the prize." She read it twice. Her lips parted like she didn't understand. What is this?" "Exactly what it looks like. You're giving me everything?" "No. I'm leaving you with what you cared about." She was speechless. I could see it, the scramble happening behind her eyes. This wasn't part of her script. She thought I'd rage, or grovel, or fall apart. Instead, I was walking away, calmly, handing her the last thing she thought she'd have to carry, ownership. Because here's the truth most cheaters don't expect. Sometimes, we don't want to take revenge. Sometimes, the worst punishment is letting them win. Because when they finally get what they said they wanted, they realize they've never been more alone. She tried to follow me, called my name 3 times. I didn't turn around. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't even slam the door. I just walked out into the cool night air and let it close behind me. And I swear I heard it. That tiny, broken whisper from behind the door. "Please, not like this." But it was. It was exactly like this. The funny thing about walking out is, it's never just about leaving a place. It's about reclaiming the air around you. The silence. The stillness that used to belong to you before someone else started poisoning it. That night, I drove. No destination, no music, just the hum of tires on wet roads and my thoughts clawing to catch up. For the first time in months, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like an accessory to someone else's story. I felt like a man again, not in the macho, dramatic way, but in the quiet way that comes with knowing you've finally made a decision no one can take back. I didn't stay at a hotel, didn't sleep in my car, and I didn't go to my parents' place either. That's what she probably assumed. Jenna always believed I had no backup plan, that I was too dependent, too comfortable, too soft to go anywhere without her. But the truth? I already had a key in my pocket. 3 months ago, when I first felt something shift in her, I reconnected with someone. Not romantically, just a voice I trusted. Mallory, my old college friend. Someone who once knew me before I was Thomas, the guy Jenna molded. She had moved back to town last year after her divorce, and we bumped into each other at a hardware store of all places. I was buying air filters. She was trying to find a wrench. We ended up having coffee. I didn't tell Jenna. I crashed on Mallory's couch that night. She didn't ask questions, just tossed me a blanket and said, "Bathroom's down the hall. Take what you need." I sat up most of that night staring at the ceiling, wondering what Jenna was doing at that exact moment. Was she tearing up the letter? Calling Camden? Lying awake? Realizing her game was over? No idea. But she found out the next morning that I didn't just disappear. She called. I ignored it. She texted, "Please, let's talk." Then another, "I made coffee. Just come home." Then a final one, more desperate. "You don't get to do this to me." I didn't mean it. It didn't matter. I chose you. Come back. I read it twice. That last sentence, "I chose you," hit differently. Because what she really meant was, I kept you around. You were convenient, safe, predictable. So I responded. Just one line. "You don't get to choose now." She didn't text again that day. Instead, she started reaching out to people around me. My sister called, said Jenna had messaged her on Instagram. A coworker mentioned she stopped by the office, looking for closure. She even emailed my boss to check if I was okay. She wasn't trying to find me. She was trying to make sure she wasn't the villain in anyone else's eyes. That's how Jenna worked. If she couldn't control me, she'd control the narrative. But here's the thing, I wasn't hiding. That weekend, I went back to the apartment, not to stay, just to pick up a few final things. I texted ahead so she wouldn't be there. She wasn't. But she left something on the kitchen table. Not a letter, not a gift, a photo book from our 5th anniversary. The one I made, the one she once called too corny to display. It was open to a page of us sitting by the lake, laughing. I had my arm around her. She wasn't looking at me in the photo, but I remember that moment. I was telling her how I wanted to build us a fire pit one day. She had nodded, smiling, and said, "As long as you don't burn the yard down." Back then, I thought that was affection. Now I wonder if it was always condescension, just better disguised. I closed the book, slid it back into its box, and left it where I found it. As I was leaving, I noticed the whiteboard by the fridge, the one we used to write grocery lists on. She had scribbled something in the corner in faded blue ink. "If you ever want to come home, I'll be here. I promise." And for a second, just a second, I almost believed her. Until I walked past the hallway mirror and saw my reflection. The man staring back wasn't the man who ever needed that promise again. Back at Mallory's, I told her everything. Not just the cheating. Not just the voice memo or the emails. I told her the part one hadn't told anyone. That I had started to believe Jenna was right about me. That I wasn't interesting enough. Strong enough. That maybe I did deserve to be treated like a backup plan. Mallory looked me in the eye and said something I still think about. "Thomas, she didn't cheat because you were boring. She cheated because she was." That night, for the first time in years, I slept deeply. No overthinking. No internal war. No fake forgiveness rehearsals. Just silence. Real silence. But the story wasn't over yet. Because I still had one more surprise for her. Something she didn't know I had the nerve to do. Something that would finally, completely rewrite the ending she thought she controlled. The moment she saw me again, weeks later, I knew she still hadn't let go. It was at a neighborhood event, something small. A charity cookout at the community center near the old apartment. I hadn't planned to go, but Mallory convinced me. Said I needed to re-enter the world. I agreed, reluctantly. I wasn't trying to make a scene. I just wanted to breathe in a space where I wasn't being lied to. But fate, or maybe irony, had other plans. She was there. Jenna, standing near the food tent, sipping from a red cup, wearing a fake smile that cracked when her eyes landed on me. She froze, mid-sentence, as if seeing a ghost. I didn't look away. I didn't flinch. I simply nodded. It was surreal, watching her try to decide whether to come over. She lingered, started to walk once, then stopped. And finally, as if pulled by something she didn't even understand, she made her way to me. "Hi," she said softly, hands clutched nervously in front of her. "You look good." I gave a polite smile. "Thanks. You too." A beat of silence. The crowd buzzed around us, but we were suspended in a bubble of things left unsaid. "I didn't think I'd see you here," she added. "I wasn't going to come," I admitted. "But I'm glad I did." She hesitated, then said, "I read the letter again. The one you left. I think I finally understood what you meant." I waited. She looked down. I thought I had all the control, that I was being clever, but I was just scared, and stupid, and maybe a little cruel. I stayed quiet. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you know I've been working on myself. Therapy. trying to understand why I kept hurting people who only ever tried to love me. Her voice cracked near the end. Not performative, not rehearsed. I believed her, but that didn't change anything. You're doing what you need to do, I said calmly. And I'm doing the same. She nodded slowly. Are you happy? That's when Mallory walked up, holding 2 drinks. She handed one to me, gave Jenna a brief, respectful smile, then placed her hand gently on my arm. I turned to Jenna and answered her question. Yeah, I'm getting there. She took the hint. Take care of yourself, Thomas. I already am, I said. And with that, she turned and walked away. No drama, no tears. Just the quiet realization that the man she once thought would never leave wasn't hers anymore. That night, Mallory and I sat on her porch, watching the sky turn orange with dusk. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, You didn't just leave her, you rebuilt yourself. I didn't think I could, I replied. She smiled. That's the point. You're not the same man who walked out of that house. And I wasn't. I wasn't blinking anymore. I wasn't begging to be noticed. I wasn't waiting for scraps of love. I was finally living, without permission, without apology, and for the first time in a very, very long time. I was proud of the man I'd become,